Shabbat Shalom. This week's Parsha is Toldot. We're in the story of Isaac and Rebekah, Yitzchak and Rivka, and we know that Yitzchak and Rivka are going to give birth to Esau and Jacob, and then Jacob is going to have the 12 sons, the 12 tribes of Israel. When we're introduced to this couple, we're told that they have a problem, an issue. The issue is that Rebekah is barren. Sarah had the same problem. Later on, Rachel will have a similar problem. And many times throughout the Bible, the issue of barrenness will come up. And how it's resolved? Well, it can be resolved through prayer or determination. That's not what the Torah's concern is. In fact, I really don't think the Torah is talking about barrenness as infertility in the sense of they're making a medical judgment about what was the problem that Sarah and Rebekah had. I think that it's really a metaphor. What do I mean by a metaphor? I mean, it's trying to teach a lesson. What does the barrenness represent? It represents the Torah's view of how difficult it is to transmit to the next generation the tradition and to hold the family and the community together. If the barrenness holds with the metaphor, then there is no next generation, right? If Abraham and Sarah don't have Isaac, it's the end of the Jewish people. If Isaac and Rebekah don't give birth to Jacob, it's the end of the Jewish people. What they're talking about, I believe, is how difficult it is to go from one generation to the next and maintain your family and your tradition and your community. The Torah understands that. In the birth of Jacob, we find, of course, the conflict he has with Esau. In the birth of Isaac, we had the conflict Isaac and Ishmael. Now what happens? Ishmael drops out, not part of the Jewish people. Esau drops out, not part of the Jewish people. It's amazing to think that the first two patriarchs and matriarchs, that 50% of their children dropped out. The Torah is warning us this is going to be a very difficult journey to maintain this peoplehood, to maintain your family. Now, what are we called? We're called the 12 tribes of Israel. We're called Yisrael. We're called Bnei Yisrael. We're referred to as Israel. Whose name was that? That was Jacob's. Why aren't we Bnei Avraham? Why aren't we the children of Abraham? Why aren't we Bnei Yitzchak? The reason is that of the three patriarchs and matriarchs, the only one to hold his family together in the end was Jacob. When Jacob dies, his 12 sons are surrounding him, his family surrounds him. But it was a very difficult journey. You had attempted fratricide, brothers almost killed a brother, you had the separation of Joseph from his father for over 20 years. His father didn't even know if he was alive or dead. You had a reconciliation that was very difficult between the brothers. It was a struggle to hold the family together. That's the message the Torah is giving us. It's going to be a great struggle. The patriarchs and matriarchs had the similar struggle. They had it internally as a family, and they had it symbolically in passing the tradition on to the next generation. We in the 21st century, we just got a study that came out a few weeks ago that told us we're in a great struggle here in the American Jewish community to pass that tradition on from one generation to the next. Now, I don't take comfort or consolation in the fact that Abraham and Isaac only succeeded with half their children, right? So I don't want to say, well, if we succeed with half our children, then we're doing as well as them. That's not the lesson that we need to take. The lesson we need to take is that it's going to be a struggle. Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, they all had that struggle to hold their family together. And the key element for the modern Jewish community is going to be education, Jewish education, to give a sense of identity, a sense of connectedness, and a relationship with the Jewish state, with Israel. These are the two elements that can help us hold on to that next generation in terms of passing them a tradition. How they will express that tradition in prayer, how they'll express that tradition in how they celebrate the holidays, the Chagim, how they will do their Seder, what their services will look like on the holidays, on Shabbat, it'll be very different. But if the core identity is there, that connection to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and the exodus from Egypt, and the story of the Jewish people and the Jewish state, then perhaps we can do even a little bit better than Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. But if we go into it thinking it's going to be an easy task, if we don't understand the barrenness of the first matriarchs that struggled just to bring the child into the world, that struggled just to have the child as a possibility for the next generation, then we don't realize how difficult it is. And if we don't assert ourselves and realize it's an overwhelming task that takes tremendous investment, tremendous courage, tremendous tenacity, then we will not be able to succeed. That's what this recent study of the Jewish community in America tells us. We have a very important and difficult struggle ahead. But if we work together, if we hold in front of us that goal and that understanding of how to educate our children through experience, through schooling, and through creating that connection to family, to Jewish community, and to Israel, then we have a good chance of succeeding, so that our children and their children will read this story about Isaac and Rebekah, their struggle to build a family, and they will be willing to go through that struggle as well. And the struggle brought great happiness to our ancestors, and it can bring great happiness and satisfaction to us as well. That's the lesson that we get from Parashat Toldot, the struggle of our ancestors. The Torah didn't want us to think it was easy. They want us to know the truth. It's not an easy task to pass on important values and lessons to the next generation. May we be privileged to work together in creating our schools and our Jewish camps and our trips to Israel, and most of all, our Jewish homes, so that we can look back and say that we have met the struggle and that we have succeeded in passing on that tradition that is found in that Torah that we read each and every week, and the Parsha that we learn something new from each and every year. Shabbat Shalom.